Hi friends, it's Lisa Mears. Thanks for being here. In this video, I'll be doing an unboxing of the Stamps of Life Club products for October 2024, and I'll also be making some cards with these products. So I want to start out by showing you the Stamps of Life Stamp and Die Hard Club set for October, and this one is called Cozy Fireplace. You will get an idea card that shows you some sample card designs, and here's a look at the actual stamp set. You get a large fireplace with some garland, a bow, as well as a holly leaf, and there's also some sentiments that say hello, thinking of you, warm greetings, and may your holidays be filled with love and warmth. So if you're part of the stamp club, you'll get the stamp set, and if you're part of the Die Hard club, you'll get the coordinating dies to die cut the stamps. So let's go ahead and take a look at the contents of the card kit of the month. This is the Let's Get Cozy collection. So with every card kit, you do get an idea card, and it shows you some sample cards that you can make using the kit. So here's the idea card for the Let's Get Cozy collection. There are also lots and lots of goodies in here. I'm going to start out by moving some of this off to the side and showing you the color palette with the cardstock colors. But first, you do get one of these large plastic storage envelopes that you can put your cardstock in or the club contents. And you also get a pack of white envelopes that will fit your A2 size cards for mailing. Okay, let's take a look at the color palette. So in this color palette, we have the color Peacock, Slate, Lemonade, Cantaloupe, Poppy, Sage, Twig, Chocolate, Strawberry, Kiwi, and then there are 4 sheets of an ivory color cardstock. Usually they do white, but this one is a little bit of an off-white. So let's take a look at the paper pad. This paper pad is the Let's Get Cozy collection, and it has all of the same colors in here that you just saw in the cardstock. It has fireplaces and wreaths and lots of fall themed sprigs, and then there are also the fireplaces that you can cut out with the coordinating dies set. So if you are a Die Hard Club member, you can cut these images out with your dies. There are some solids in here, as well as some holly leaves, some more of the sprigs and polka dots. And those sprigs come in different colors. They're so pretty. And then here's a Let's Get Cozy words. And then there are some more fireplaces. There's another sheet with images that you can cut out, but for this sheet you would need an add-on set called Cozy Fireplace Add-on Dies, which the Stamps of Life does sell, and if you don't have those, you can always use your scissors and just cut out those images on your own. And with this paper pad, you always get 2 sheets of each design, so there are plenty to choose from. Let's take a look at the die set that you get with this card kit. This is called the Rounded Window Card Die Set. So this die set includes the die to make the A1 size card, and then you get 2 arches that have stitching all around, and there's a word die that says Let's Get Cozy. Also included is this sheet of sentiment stickers, and they are square stickers in the same color palette, and you can just peel these off and stick these right on the front of your cards or even on the inside of your cards. Also included is a die that says Warm Wishes. There's also a pack of snowflake embellishments, as well as some felt flowers in the cantaloupe color. Those are so pretty. They have pearls in the center. And you also get a pack of gold pearls. These have a sticky back, so you can just stick them onto your cards. There's also some ribbon included in the kit. And that's everything that's included in the Let's Get Cozy collection card kit. If you are interested in joining any of the clubs, there will be a link down in the description box of this YouTube video where you can click on that link to sign up, or even if you just want more information about these clubs, you can click on that link and head over to the website where you can find more information about those clubs. If you do end up joining any of the clubs, you can use my code Lisa Mears to get $5 in bonus club points to spend in the Stamps of Life store. So let's go ahead and make some cards with these products. I went ahead and die cut a few of the fireplaces from the paper pad. And if you take a look at this fireplace, you will see a lot of white space along the edge. And I used the shadow die to cut this one out. But if you want to eliminate some of the white space and even get rid of all of that space behind the fire, you can use the more detailed die and it will cut all of that white away from the fireplace. You can even do the same thing with the garland. So I have these two pieces of garland from the paper pad. One has the white edge and one does not, and it's just a matter of which die you use to cut them out. So you can use the shadow die if you want the white, and if you don't want all of that white, just use the more detailed die. So for my first card, I'm going to be using the brown fireplace where I cut all of the white away. And now I can use the shadow die to die cut a piece of black cardstock to put behind that fireplace so that now the opening of the fireplace is black. So it's just a slightly different color. And then it also puts that black edge all along the rest of the fireplace. Now I am going to be taking this up a notch and I'm going to be turning this fireplace into a shaker. So I'm just going to take a piece of acetate, and by the way, if you don't want to make this a shaker, just attach the fireplace to the black cardstock with some glue. But I'm going to turn this into a shaker because it does have that opening behind the fire, and if I just put some acetate behind this and add some foam and shaker pieces, this will be a cute little shaker. So I'm just cutting a little bit of acetate down to size, and then I'm going to glue that acetate on the back side of that fireplace. I'm just going to take out my glue and I'm just going to put some glue right along the edge of the opening. And I'm also going to put glue along the bottom and behind the fire because all of these pieces with glue on it, that's what's going to attach to my acetate. So now I'm just going to put this piece of acetate right on there. I'm going to hold this down with an acrylic block until it's nice and dry, and once it's dry then I'll be able to remove that acrylic block and that acetate is now attached. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I'm just going to speed this up a little bit, I am going to add some foam to the back side of my fireplace. So I'm just going to add some double-sided adhesive foam along the top and sides. I'm also going to add some foam right above the opening. Now you want to make sure that your foam goes from edge to edge. You don't want to leave any gaps because if you leave gaps then all of the shaker pieces will end up going through those openings and you definitely don't want that. So close up all the spaces between the foam. So notice that the foam is touching. So the horizontal piece and the vertical pieces are touching, there's no gaps there. And now I need to put some foam along the bottom, and since this part is a little bit thinner, I'm just going to cut this foam down the middle to make it a little bit thinner and then add a piece of foam right there at the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to remove all of the backing from my foam. And then I'm going to add some little shaker pieces inside of where that acetate window is. Once I have the shaker pieces inside there, I am going to just add the black shadow layer right on top. And that's how you create a shaker out of your fireplace. So let's go ahead and finish decorating this with the garland. So I'll go ahead and add that to the top of the fireplace. I also cut out one of the holly leaves and two of the stockings, and I'll add those to the garland as well. So the holly will go right in the middle, and then I'll have a stocking on the left side and on the right side. I have a piece of white cardstock that I cut with a stitched rectangle die, and I'm going to put these elements on this white cardstock. Now, I did bring in the white cardstock from my stash, and I did not use the ivory colored cardstock from the card kit, and the reason being is because I knew I wanted to use that wreath, and the wreath has a white center, so I wanted it to blend in with the background. So here I was just positioning everything where I want it on this white cardstock, starting with the wreath, and then I'm going to have the fireplace. I also brought in a stamp from the Cozy Fireplace stamp set, and I just was positioning everything where I wanted it to go, and then I'm putting it here in my Misti just to get everything straight, making sure I have enough room for that stamp, and then I'll go ahead and remove the fireplace and stamp out the sentiment, and I'm using the Warm Greetings sentiment. Now I'll go ahead and glue down the fireplace to the center of that white cardstock. And then I'll add that to a piece of red cardstock that I cut down to 4¼ by 5½ inches. And then I'll just add that to an A2 size white card base. I will be bringing in some of my Scrapbookcom pops of color. This is just a liquid embellishment that will add some accents to your cards, and it goes on wet, but it will dry hard. So I'm just adding a few berries to the garland, and then I'll add some to the wreath as well. So as I said, this is wet, so make sure you don't touch that part that has the pops of color until it's completely dry. But isn't this such a cute card? I love that shaker fireplace. I'll be making another fireplace card, and this time I'm going to be using the dies to put my own fireplace together using my own colors. So here I'm using the fireplace die that has all the detail on it, and I die cut a piece of white cardstock and the slate cardstock, so this light blue, and I'm cutting away the mantle of the fireplace on the blue cardstock. And I'm also going to cut away the bottom portion of the fireplace as well as the center oval where the opening is. And I'm just going to cut around all of this entire oval shape until I cut that away. So then I'm going to cut the fire out of the fireplace so that I just have this outline. And you can see how all of these blue pieces that I cut are going to go on top of that white fireplace. But I'm not going to do that yet. I also die cut the fire out of the cantaloupe cardstock, and I'm going to just cut the base of that where the logs are, cut that off so that I just have the flame. And then on the chocolate cardstock, which I also die cut the fire from, I'm cutting the logs, so I'll be able to piece those together just like this. There's also this small die which I die cut out of some of the red cardstock, and that piece just goes right inside of the flame, so I'll go ahead and add that now. Next, I'm just going to use some blue ink and ink up the edges of all of this blue cardstock just to add some more depth to these cardstock pieces. I'm also going to add some orange ink to the flame. I also have this little die, and die cut all these little blue rectangular pieces, and they go on all of these embossed rectangle shapes on the fireplace. And I added some blue ink to these as well. Now I'm going to glue all of these blue pieces onto the white fireplace, starting with the mantle. I'll go ahead and add the rectangular pieces to those embossed shapes on the fireplace, just putting a little bit of glue and then using my Scrapbookcom Craft Pick Pro tool to pick up those small pieces of cardstock using the wax tip and then just placing them on the white part of the fireplace where they go. Now I'm not going to fill in all of the designs. For example, in the top center of the fireplace I'm going to put a wreath, so I don't need to put any underneath that wreath, so I'll skip those and then I'll move on to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these off camera, and any that are extending past the edge of the fireplace I'll just snip off with my scissors. I did leave an opening there on the right as well because there will be a sentiment that's going over top of that white area. So I'll go ahead and add the base and then that oval piece, and then I'll work on the fire. by adding the log first, and then I'll add the flame on top. This fireplace is going to go on a white shadow layer, but I don't want the background of the flame to be white, so I cut a piece of gray cardstock, and I'm just going to tape it on the back of the fireplace where the opening of the fireplace is. And that's going to allow that opening to be a different color than the white shadow layer. I'll go ahead and remove the backing of that double-sided adhesive, and then I'll put glue on the back of the entire fireplace and add it to the white cardstock. Now we can add this fireplace to a card. I have a piece of the cozy cardstock, and I cut that to 5.5 by 4.25, and then the reverse of that cardstock is this light pink color with the foliage, and that I cut to 1.5 by 4.25 inches. This is going to be a landscape card, so I added the pink pattern paper to the left side of the Let's Get Cozy pattern paper, and then I just snipped off the bottom there. And then I have this piece of sage cardstock I cut with a Pretty Pink Posh stitched strips die, and I'm just going to add that over top of where those two pieces of pattern paper meet. And the die cut is a little bit longer than the card, so I'll just snip off the excess with my scissors. So I'm going to add the wreath to the top of the fireplace, and I did choose the wreath with the blue bow that matches the pattern paper. And then I'll go ahead and add the fireplace to the right side of that card. And I'm going to use the word warm wishes, and I'm going to add that to a piece of white cardstock that I cut with the shadow layer. The warm wishes is the same pink color that the pattern paper has in it. I added some foam to the back of the sentiment, and that's going to be popped up to the right side of the fireplace. And I wanted to add something to the right side of that card, so I'm going to add 3 holly leaves to that pink pattern paper. Next, I'll add that to a white A2 size card base, and this card is now completed. For my next card, I'm using the arch dies that are included in the rounded window card die set. And using these dies, I die cut 2 pieces of cardstock. One is a piece of pattern paper and another is a solid piece of cardstock. I'm going to layer both of these arch die cuts on top of each other. I love these dies because they have stitching all around. I always love dies that have stitching because it just adds so much more detail to the die cut pieces. Next, I have a piece of solid peacock cardstock that I cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then the matching pattern paper I cut to 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and I'm just layering those 2 pieces together. The arches are going to go right in the center of that, so I'll go ahead and glue those down. I'm bringing in some off-white ribbon from my stash. This is from a previous Stamps of Life card kit. I don't know which one. It's just some that I had in my stash. And I chose this color because it matched the solid like off-white color cardstock that I used in the arch. So I just cut a strip of that ribbon. I added some double-sided adhesive tape to the ends, and I'm just going to adhere it around the back side of this card layer. And the ribbon is just going to go on the lower portion of this card as well. I'm just going to cut off some of the excess ribbon here on the back of the card. And then for the sentiment, I have the Warm Wishes sentiment. I'm using the off-white cardstock for the shadow. I have some holographic silver glitter paper that I used for one of the die cut pieces, and then the peacock cardstock for another. I'm actually going to layer these 2 together because I wanted a little bit of sparkle to come through that sentiment. So I'm going to start out by adding the holographic silver paper directly to the shadow layer, and then I'll add the peacock cardstock over top of that, but I'm going to offset it just a little bit so that silver holographic pattern paper shows through the sides of that sentiment. I'll go ahead and add the sentiment to my card layer. And I'm also going to bring in some of the snowflake embellishments, and I'll add glue to the back and I'll add those to the card as well. Next, I'm going to use a glue dot, and I'm going to add a glue dot to the back of this bow that I tied with that ribbon, and I'm going to add the bow to the right side of that card. I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the back of that card layer, and I'll add it to an A2 size card base. I'm going to add some sparkle to the snowflakes by just putting a little bit of the silver glitter pops of color on my finger and just dabbing them on the snowflakes. So you can see when I bring this up close, I'm just going to kind of angle my card so that you can see some of that glitter sparkling on those snowflakes. And then the last thing I'm going to do for this card is take a silver gem and just add it to the dot in the word wishes, and that's just going to add for just a little bit more sparkle. And that's going to finish this card. Let's go ahead and move on to the rounded window card die set. So this die set has this large die, which I die cut out of the Sage cardstock. And when you die cut it, you can see it puts some score lines in your cardstock. So I'm just going to turn this piece upside down so the front is facing the table, and I'm going to fold up and then back. So when you fold on those score lines, this is what it's going to look like. So it's kind of folded in on each side. So we'll go ahead and do that to the other side. So I'm going to fold up and then fold back the last score line, and you can see how it looks when it's folded. But I need to cut the center out of this because this is kind of almost like a shadow card, which has the center cut out. So that's what the arch dies are used for from this die set. There's a larger one and a smaller one, and you can pick which one you want to use. I'm going to be using the largest die here. So I'm just placing it so that it's in the center of the large area that's between the two score lines on the left and right side. And I'm going to use some mint tape, and I'm going to hold the die in place because I want to make sure that this remains straight when I run this through my die cutting machine. So I'll go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine, and when that comes out of the machine, it gives me an arch, which I can use that for another project if I wanted to, but it also cuts the center out. And I love this die so much, it actually puts stitching on the arch itself and on the opening of that piece of cardstock, which is really neat. So this sage piece of cardstock with the arch, it needs to go on another piece of cardstock or pattern paper, and that's what the holly pattern paper is here for. So that holly paper I did cut down to 3.5 inches by 4 7/8 inches because that's the size of the A1 size card, which is what this die set makes. It makes an A1 size card, which is slightly smaller than your traditional A2 size. So I am going to use some double-sided adhesive tape, and I'm going to put the tape along the back side of the folds in my Sage cardstock. And then once I have that tape on there, I can now go ahead and add it to my piece of pattern paper. So you can pick basically whatever pattern paper you want, or if you wanted to have solid cardstock here, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to align up one side of the Sage cardstock with the pattern paper and press down. And then I'm going to remove the double-sided backing of the tape on the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to line up the corners, and then I will press it down. This is such a fun die set because it adds dimension to your card. It kind of acts like a shadow box, so you can put some stuff in there. I was thinking a Christmas tree would be really cute to put inside there. You can put a Christmas tree with some presents or put a little Santa in there if you wanted to. But I am actually going to stick with the contents of the card kit for my card. This card will also lay flat so that it can fit in an envelope, so there's not an issue with mailing that. It will be a little bit thicker because of the fold, but it will fit into an envelope. So I'm going to bring in one of the pieces of garland and I am going to add it to the top of this card. I'm just putting glue along the top of the garland because part of it's going to be hanging off the bottom. I'm also going to be bringing in a wreath, and the wreath I chose has the same pink color on the bow as has in the pattern paper. So I just put a little bit of glue on the top of the wreath and I'm adding it to the center of the garland. I'm going to bring in the bow stamp from the stamp set. I want to put 2 bows in the corners, just like the bow is on the wreath. I wanted them to be the same color, so I'm grabbing this paper from the pattern paper pad. It's actually the reverse of the paper that had the fireplaces on it. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp out 2 bows. I'm just using some black ink to stamp these down so that I can have the outline of the bow. So it's going on the colored paper so I don't have to worry about coloring them. And then I'm just going to take my bow die, I'll add it to the stamp, just line it up and run it through the die cutting machine, and that will give me the bows with the little black outline. And I'm going to add those bows to the corners of the garland. I'm going to pick this sentiment sticker, Have a Cozy Holiday, since it matches the same sage color as the cardstock. And I'll add that to the center of that window. I'm going to bring in some of these gold pearls, and I'm going to accent this card with the gold pearls by adding some to the center of the bows. I'm using 2 of the smaller gold pearls for the bows and then a larger one for the bow on the wreath. And I'm also going to take 2 of the larger pearls and add them to the left and right side of the word cozy on my sentiment. So you can see that this is kind of like a little shadow box. It was designed to go on the front of an A1 size card base, but it actually can stand up. So if you like the idea of it standing up, you can actually cover this pattern paper in the back so you have room to write your message. And I'm just going to take a piece of the sage cardstock, since that's the cardstock I used on the front of the card. And you can write your message on the back here. So just cut it down to 3.5 by 4 7/8 inches and then glue it to the back of that card. I'm just going to press this down really well so that cardstock is adhered, but you can see now you have room to write your message on the back if you wanted to leave it like this. Now, if you prefer to put this on a A1 size card base, you will need to take a piece of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock, cut it to 7 inches on the 11-inch side, and then take that paper and then rotate it and cut it at 4 7/8 inches. And now you have a piece of cardstock that you can take out your scoring tool and you can score it at 3.5 inches along the 7-inch side. Just fold that, and then that would be your card base for an A1 size card, and then you can attach the front of that card to your card base, and then you would have room inside to write a longer message. So let me know what card was your favorite. Leave me a comment down below. If you're interested in joining any of the Stamps of Life clubs, check the link in the description box below as well. And you can see up close pictures of all my cards over on my blog at lisamearsdesigns.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more card making inspiration. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.